All right, what do you think it means for it to be quadratic? Anybody remember? I've been exposed to that term before. So everything that we've done up to now as far as solving equations and stuff have been linear equations, straight lines. What do you think quadratic means? So not just it's not a straight line, and it's going to be shaped like a U. Okay, so a quadratic model or a function is going to be a U-shaped model. These graphs are called parabolas. And a parabola is symmetric. Through a vertical line. And so if you take any quadratic equation, okay, the graph of it is going to be the same on the left of some vertical line as it is to the right of that vertical line. Okay, a quadratic equation is going to either open straight up or straight down. It's not going to open to the side. Bless you. And it's going to have a highest point or a lowest point. Okay, that will be referred to as the maximum or minimum. Okay, and this is called a vertex. So if your parabola opens up, will it have a maximum or minimum? This point here, the lowest point on the graph, it has a minimum if the graph opens up. If the graph opens down, your parabola will have a maximum. And again, these are samples of the vertex. So you need to be aware of this terminology and what is meant by it. If you take a vertical line through the vertex, this is called an axis of symmetry. Again, whether it opens up or down, that vertical line is called the axis of symmetry. And when you look at an axis of symmetry, what value is never going to change in a vertical line? The x value or the y value on a coordinate plane. So if you had a graph here, and it was a parabola that opened up, and you had a vertical line through the vertex, what coordinate on this vertical line never changes? The x-coordinate or the y-coordinate? So here, let's say the x-coordinate is -1, the y-coordinate is 1. What's the x-coordinate here? -1. What's the x-coordinate here? -1. So the axis of symmetry is always going to be modeled by the form x equals some value. A just represents a constant. And that constant is simply going to be the x-coordinate of the vertex. All right, so all of this information right here, like just this kind of cheat sheet, if you understand it or have it written down, is going to allow you to answer all the questions that you'll have for a problem from this section. And so let's take an example and see how each of these is going to be applied. And let's say I give you an equation. Right. A quadratic equation, or this parabola, is identified because the highest power of x is going to be a 2. And that's what designates it as a quadratic function or equation. Okay. If the highest power of x is 2, you have a quadratic. There's the first step of identifying information about this graph is to find out, is the leading coefficient positive or negative? So what is it in this example? The leading coefficient is this value in front of the x squared. Is that a positive number or a negative number? Positive. If it's positive, then your graph is going to open up. If it's negative, your graph is going to open down. Okay. So in this case, what do we expect our graph to look like? A U shape opening up. Okay. So what that means is when you find your vertex, is your vertex going to be a maximum or a minimum here? Okay. Because it's going to have this lowest point, you're going to be dealing with a minimum. Okay. And so to find your max or min, which would be the next step, find your vertex. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to write your equation in standard form. Standard form means in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay. Or actually, we'll set this just equal to our regular just function. Ax squared plus bx plus c is the standard form. And so you're just writing it from highest power to lowest power of x. And that allows you to figure out is the leading coefficient positive or negative. And it also allows you to figure out what your vertex is. Because if your equation's written in standard form, the vertex x coordinate is equal to negative b over 2a. Okay, so if you take this equation here, it's written in standard form. So we could find the values for a, b, and c. A, b, and c are just the coefficients, the numerical multipliers of each of those terms. And so if you look here, what is the a value in this sample equation? What's the unwritten coefficient in front of x squared? 1. What's the b value? The b value is negative 2. And what's the c value? Also 1. Okay. So if you plug these in, you get your x coordinate to be negative b over 2 times a. And so continuing this, negative times a negative gives you a positive over a positive 2. So you get your vertex x coordinate to be x equals 1. Okay, so you're looking at a minimum point at the location of 1, and how do we know what y coordinate will correspond with this? So once you find the vertex x coordinate, what can you do to find its y coordinate?